Creating the Perfect Image is presented by David Goldshaw, President, Oshaw Dental Productions.
I'm David Goldshaw. I'm the president of Oshaw Dental Productions, and here we talk about and educate on dental materials. I'd like to be able to explain to you how we're going to look at and work with impression materials, in this case, alginates. Now, it's very important to first off look at our types of impression trays. There's a variety of impression trays we can choose, and in this case we're going to look at the plastic trays versus the metal trays. There's a variety that we can choose from, and most people here in North America and Canada, we're looking, I think most people that again look at asepsis, sterilization, disinfection, use the perforated trays. I like to be able to compare the difference between the perforated, the solid trays, and then we'll look at the plastic trays. Now, think of it this way. The perforated trays, which are considered the most popular types of impression trays in the marketplace, we put our impression materials, our alginates inside here. They're then put into the mouth, and the material flows through the impression trays. So we lose compression inside here. This is taking what we call a mucostatic impression. Compare that to the solid impression tray. The solid tray, which a lot of people don't like using because they thought it doesn't hold or adhere the impression material as well as the perforated tray. Actually, about 5 years ago, the manufacturers made the rims around and also internally thicker, so it actually gives as much, if not better, adhesion than the perforated tray. When we put the impression tray inside here, the material inside here, the alginate, and compress it, it completes and produces a much more compressive impression known as a muco-compressive impression. So if we compare the two, we get more definition with again a solid impression tray versus a perforated impression tray. So with our choice being for a regular dentition, with all the teeth being there, we want to have a muco-compressive impression tray. The solid tray is our choice. When we have partial or edentulous cases, we should be using our perforated trays because we don't want to compress soft, flabby tissues. Now let's have a quick look at our plastic trays, and these are considered disposable. They come in this case as a half arch, of course, full impression trays. The difference between these is I go into a lot of dental offices and I see what's happening. They actually put these into a cold soak solution overnight, whereas they're considered disposable. Disposable means you throw it away after each use. The problem being that since it's a plastic, a shiny surface almost, that they don't get quite the adhesion that you normally need to use. So we should be using a good adhesive inside. So in order to do that, I'm using a vegetable-based adhesive called TAC, T-A-C, Tray Adhesive Compound, from a company called Bosworth. It does actually come with two of these little depressors, and it's nice and easy to use. So I'll just make sure that it's simply adhered. By spraying this lightly onto the surface, I then wait 1 minute, and then I can apply my impression material down inside. And no matter how hard I try afterwards, it will not separate from the tray. It stays within. So it means to say that the trays have to be thrown away afterwards since we can't clean out the material. So that's looking at the impression trays. Now we're going to have a look at how to mix an alginate. Let's talk a little bit about alginates. Most alginates nowadays are pre-packaged inside bags such as this. Why? Because it gives it a longer shelf life. There's a small amount of vacuum inside, and in this case we have 5 years shelf life, which is good. So that's going to keep us away from obviously any type of impurities getting inside. The problem being that as soon as we put it into a container, a canister like this, as soon as moisture gets inside, it can contaminate or change the flow of the properties of the material. So we want to keep the lid on pretty much at all times. Handling the material. The alginate itself will settle since it's made from 3 different particle sides, and it does need to be fluffed up. The incorrect way of fluffing an alginate is by doing this or by doing this to the material. It hurts the material that's inside. When alginate is manufactured, it actually is made in 3 different particle sizes, which are all soft and round, spherical shaped. The material itself, if we ever had to shake it up like this, those particles bang against each other and break, and they become like jigsaw piece puzzles that don't fit together. We've just changed the working time, the setting time, the dimensional stability. So to fluff an alginate, any alginate, we put it onto its side